This is a section called Fellow Travellers, so-called. It's about influences, idols and influences, songwriters who've been influenced by others. And first of all, Bruce Springsteen, writing about Chuck Berry. The anecdote which opens this, I think, is actually fairly well known. Springsteen says, "I met Chuck Berry once. We played the Maryland Armory in the early 70s, and we got a call from the promoter. My manager said, 'Gee, you know we're going to open on a bill for Jerry Lee Lewis and Chuck Berry?' I thought this was like, forget it. I was 23 or 24 and these guys were our heroes, so we were really excited. The promoter said he's getting a band that's going to back Chuck Berry up, and we said, no, don't get one of the local bands. Tell him we'll back him up. We were really nervous. There wasn't supposed to be an extra guitar player, so I came up to him and said, 'Gee, is it okay if we play?' And he said, yeah, you can play. And I said, 'Well, Chuck.' He said, 'What?' I said, 'What songs are we going to do?' And he said, 'Well, we're going to do some Chuck Berry songs.' That's all he said. So we went, okay. Chuck Berry created great characters, which I'm sure had to be part of him and part of what he imagined. Like he said, he was writing all of them high school songs when he was 32, but he knew what it was about. His thing was fantastic, tremendous use of detail, which in my later writing particularly is something I've really tried to work on, to get better at, because I admire his music and that unbelievable sense of detail that would bring the whole verse alive. Now here's Bono talking about Dylan. We sang Blowin' in the Wind together. Dylan sang the first 4 verses, the only ones I knew. And then he stopped and looked at me and said, "Now you carry on." My mind was totally blank. So I made it up. Trying to rewrite Blowin' in the Wind on the spot is not a good idea. But he liked it. And he said to me, I make them up all the time too. And we'll come back to Dylan later. Here's Kenny Loggins. Anyone remember Loggins and Messina? Yeah, I love them. Tim Hardin, says Kenny, really made a strong impression on me with his second album, the one with Reason to Believe on it. What affected me most was the feeling, the attitude, and the mood it would create in a room when you played it. What that album did for me was to help me find a place in myself that I could touch. That's what I think inspiration is. When somebody comes along that shows you something about yourself, opens up a place in you that you can tap. Now here's Richard Thompson, starting out talking about Scottish ballads. We're all over the place, aren't we? But we'll come round. The best songs for me are the Scottish ballads. They're very distilled. They're very terse, with very powerful language. In one verse, you get tremendous economy and imagery. That's the finest form of songwriting for me. What I hear in people like Dylan is the kind of collage of traditional music. He cuts up all those things, blues, Scottish music, Appalachian music, and kind of rearranges it into a more surreal form. And now Dylan himself, on a similar theme. It's like this painter who lives around here. He paints the area in a radius of 20 miles, bright, strong pictures. He might take a barn from 20 miles away and hook it up with a brook right next door, then with a car 10 miles away, and then with the sky on some certain day and the light on the trees from another day. A person passing by will be painted alongside someone 10 miles away, and in the end he'll have this composite picture of something which you can't say exists in his mind. It's not that he started off willfully painting this picture from all his experience. That's more or less what I do. And then I'll finish off with Melissa Manchester, very fine singer-songwriter, quoting Paul Simon. Paul Simon said, "Say what you have to say in your own way and say it as simply and quickly as possible, and then get the hell out of there."